Oh my gosh. Okay, so today I went on a really nice walk. Really nice walk. I had this thought that oh, I it's like the thought of that you have when you're a person who has thoughts. I had this thought when I was like, oh, I feel like I've been walking the same places over and over and over. But then today, thankfully, I took some. Usually when I walk, I don't really. Sometimes I kind of plan like how long I'm gonna go or what I think it will look like. But today, I had a genuine surprise. I went somewhere that I had never encountered usually on my walk. I have a little bit of like honey. I live with this spiritual older woman. It's kind of like those Hare Krishna people that move in with monks. She follows Saint Germain and this woman called Prophet, who I'd never heard of before. Very, very kind woman. And I still have not found a job in this town. But I feel like I'm supposed to stay here, and I have enough to pay for rent for another month, so. But honestly, I've been so kind of like taken aback about like making content recently, because right now I've just been so into writing and like creating worlds. Like for me, I think that when I like my dream for creating, I think, is to create like a fictional world, I guess, and have like stories in it. Right now I have a fictional world that I'm creating, but it's like a whole story like about it. Like it's not about really the world. But that's cool though. I mean, I got really inspired. I watched all of Invincible recently. I really liked Invincible. But I really think that they fail their female characters. And also, I don't understand. I would like to say I don't understand, but there's definitely so many reasons for this. Like, the gay characters never kiss on screen. But what's so interesting about society and about what they think that the market wants, like with like production people, this is even on Amazon Prime. You know, you can show dick on there, I feel like. I would not be surprised if I saw dick on Amazon Prime. But the gay characters never kiss. And they're obviously gay. You know, like they come out as gay, like, oh, I had sex with this guy. And like one of the characters, William, he talks about he's like, yeah, we had sex that summer. But then you can't kiss him on screen. Meanwhile, we have Omni-Man literally flying through people. You know, and like there's just the harrowing things like Adam Eve getting like all of the gore. And so I think it's a really amazing, peculiar timeline that we live in, where we are so inundated with really horrible gore. My theory, though, is that the reason, like the higher up energetic reason, is I think that because of the nature of Earth, the nature of Earth is to get you to identify fully with the body, which is why we have all the problems with karma. We have all of the problems with like like the supposed ideas. If you believe in it, if you don't believe in it, I'm getting to the point now where I'm like, I don't even know. Like, I don't know about reincarnation. I've done some work even with like going into past lives. I had a video about it. I took it down. Just for like a lesson I was learning from a past life. But really, recently, all of my spiritual contracts are just kind of like being really like, this is where I'm at. Like, you know, I remember I saw this meme where I was like, it's like beginner spirituality is like crystals and tarot cards, but then like advanced spirituality is like coffee and a cigarette, which makes sense. But really, the thing about being like spiritual is also just kind of like having an outside perspective, higher power that you call to when you're in like the trials and tribulations of life. Meanwhile, I have this idea where it's like, if the all-encompassing like universal constructs that we look to are also involved in us, I find it really peculiar that people are still like worshiping and putting things on altars to something besides like their life. I've been studying with a teacher recently who is fourth way predominantly, and when she talks about the altar, she said this one thing that changed the way I see altars so much. She's like, you know, you put when you're creating things, like, what are you sacrificing for it? Like, what needs to go on the altar? And for me, I was like, fuck, like, why? You know, I have like some goals on my altar and symbolisms for things that I care about in my life. But yeah, like putting things on the altar. Girl, I wrote scrolling on social media and put it on my altar. And really putting that in that physical act has helped me, because now if I find myself opening my phone, I'm like, I'm like, girl, that's on your altar. You know, that's like you're giving that up. I guess I could see like this is something I practice, and then the hypocrite comes in, the paradox. I give things up to greater forces at will in terms of like surrender and sacrifice. Something that I've done since I was a kid, and this is my minor inference on magic, is a lot of it, as opposed to like white magic, like praying for things and believing they'll happen, versus black magic, which is, I think black magic to get things is just manipulation and scare tactics and fear. And also kind of like going, oh yeah, read something about like going against your limits. Me personally, I understand black magic in that sense. I think I've used it on people. You know, it's when you tell someone like, I'm gonna cast a fucking spell on you, or when I tell stories about like me like getting upset about something and being like, yeah, I'm gonna hex you. That's more scary than what might happen after. And I think also there's like a peculiar experience happening nowadays where like people are getting more interested in occult things, and I think it's becoming a lot more widespread, which is totally natural for where we are right now. I remember reading this book called I listened to it, like a read through, and it was like, if you want to make money, don't even try to get it with occult practices. And I think that's like a really big net. I think that's a big net that a lot of people get stuck in, especially with how prominent too, like using like different days and months out of the year to like, it's like, oh, the 7/7 portal. If you've ever heard of it, it's like specific days and dates are supposed to announce or denounce that there's a higher amount of energy, or it's easier to manifest things. But then you get into higher orders, and it's like, yeah, there's like always, it is important, but it's like, there's like layers of reality and like layers of connection between different things. Everything is really much exchanges of information and also just allocation of energy, which goes back to like how we get all of our energy from the sun and how that goes from us into like the planets. There's like rules and laws to everything, but that doesn't mean that you really can't do stuff with magic, if that makes any sense. I'll be real, like, I feel like you can do a lot of things with it besides getting money. Like, you can get money by, like, doing magic and ritual to, like, prepare yourself to be in that mindset. But, you know, like, where is it going to come from? You know, like, there's only so many ways that things can manifest into our reality, unless you're, like, a certain level higher advanced order, or if you're even a part of a group. Because we have, like, magic coming in from, like, the dark occultists, like, the supposed, like, dark rulers of our world. And isn't that funny? Like, okay, like, being so interested in storylines and, like, art and stuff, it makes you think, like, okay, so we have all these stories that we read. What the hell's going on this planet? But it's also so much so that, like, if you were to write a story about Earth, like, in its encompassing, like, as a world, it really would be a story about, like, I would say, like, Earth as a story is all about perpetual advantages versus disadvantage, like, perception, as well as, like, what's, like, the true it's, like, a lot of, like, what am I? Usually when I read stories, they're never, like, who are we? But then again, that's not everyone's story on this planet. Like, or in America. I also find that now, when I talk about life or people, I'm like, yeah, well, in this reality, on this planet, like, I act like that I'm not an incarnate on this human experience. I really do. And I just have this thought that, like, I'm just a detective of Earth. Like, I feel like I just came to Earth to be like, what's going on here? Like, super, like, more so curious about it, but not, I don't know. Because I want to be involved. And I also don't. Like, I also just know that, like, I used to have a savior complex that like I wanted to do something to help save the world. And then once you realize that that's bogus, like that's another rule of this reality. It's like you can't control anyone, like free will. So by accordance of our own nature and like accordance to like whatever, we gotta like create our own realities, I guess you could say. But also we don't have that high amount of power. Like imagine being able to create this planet. There's so many intricate details and fine linings to things. But then there's also so many glitches too. One of the most popular viewpoints about reality creation is it's from the second level of Christianity, Gnosticism. And in Gnosticism, there's the concept of the demiurge, which is like the thing that created the physical reality. That like it's so stupid and like also just quote unquote evil, you know, like, and then the theory that like our world is created from like a lesser order god of evil, which I think is hilarious because then you're like, okay, well, can we defeat it? Like, can I get magical powers and like destroy the Matrix and like defeat the monster? But then it's also like, but it's not like, you know, it's not like that. Like gods and higher order energies, I find just art really like that. Like, they exist beyond the paradigm of what we experience as like duality. My teacher, she says like the law of two, which is when you're in conflict, you only think that there's two sides to a story. And then God is supposedly the third force, which is why when God splits itself into two, it's three, because there's always that third, you know, the third force. Like when you fall in love, you're just coming back into union with your original self because we all connect. That's like eventually the story. Like, I guess that it does kind of coincide with the Big Bang theory. Like, everything is, like, expanding and, like, converging and, like, dispersing of itself. And, yeah, I just kind of, like... I love my story, too. I guess I want to keep talking about my... I don't know how to talk about my story. I guess I'm just not ready to reveal it yet. Like, yeah, I'm writing a story. Hey, guys, I'm writing a book. And then I got caught in a bubble of like telling a lot of people like, oh, I'm writing this story. Listen to my idea about this story. And then I stopped writing it for so long and I had to come back to it. But thankfully I'm doing this. I'm just really focused. I'm really trying, and I'm really trying to have discipline. And then having discipline is very hard. And so then I'm just very like inundated by the idea of Saturn kind of looming over me. But yeah. I don't know what's going to happen next. I know that I am going to finish this book. And I know I am going to continue to write more. Thanks for listening. If you got to the end of this video, it's just me talking, chilling.